We've gone abroad a bit. It has a fanatical following in some countries. Well, I guess everywhere where it has a following, it's kind of a fanatical following.
No one in this room knows what you're talking about. This is going to sound like a very silly question, but how does that feel? That people are sort of, we're so moved or so intrigued by your performance that they're holding it, they're keeping it with them for months or years. You know, this thing you've created will live on for however long there are DVD players.
Well, it's flattering. It's also troubling a little bit. I'm just the reach and scope of it. To have so many more people know you than you know, that seems out of balance somehow. That's a screwy thing to say, isn't it? But it actually sounds pretty sensible. And then you receive letters from people that say that this thing you did or this show you were on has meant this or that to them, and in some cases it has made changes in their lives, and you hope that the things you do have some positive impact. At the same time, you worry that maybe this was all a greater responsibility than you even realized, and that you should have been maybe more thoughtful about it or more careful. But I mean, the scope, the reach of the thing, it's unbelievable, and beyond any of the individual players' power to handle carefully, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
These are the things I worry about.
So why don't we start right over here, and we will alternate.
Hi, Mr. Emerson. First of all, thanks for coming here and speaking about all this stuff. It's very fascinating and useful. But I was wondering, I thought it was interesting you said that you viewed your job as an actor as kind of a problem solver, I think is what you said. But obviously, I mean, over time, especially on a TV series where you're playing this character over a long period of time, you must feel at some point some kind of a sense of ownership and a protectiveness of the character. But I was wondering if there was ever a script or if there was anything you were ever given where your first instinct was, that's not right, I don't think I would do that. And if so, how did you...
You mean a Lost script?
Well, I mean either on The Practice or on Lost. I mean, I was just wondering if you were ever given a script and you opened it up and you read it, and you read something and you said, I disagree, I don't think that my character would do that. But if not,
well, I know what you're asking. I think of it a little differently. I never say my character wouldn't do that, because whatever the writer can imagine can probably be... one of the things I try to do is be the problem solver. If it seems unlikely that a character would do this, I will try to help the writer solve that problem and show him how a living person might actually do something like that. They may not like my idea of how that makes sense or the logic of it, but I will try to do that. By the same token, if somebody gives me a script, I mean, you often don't respond to scripts. I read scripts all the time, and I don't fall in love with that many of them, because I want something that is dangerous and mystifying to me, and I'm not a big one on the formulaic or the obvious, so I'm kind of a script snob, and I do pass on things for that reason. Is that an answer?
yes.
Two brief questions. One is, how do you keep the little lines so fresh? Like in one of my favorite lines you ever delivered in Lost was turning to Jack and saying, "Who cares?" on Flight 316 when you were going back. You know, Jack was all concerned about all the people who may die in the crash, and you just said that line. It was effing amazing. I mean,
thank you.
My daughter and I just said, that is so Ben. You know, it was just, so how do you just try to not even rehearse that when you have that? You know,
or you try it in a number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to remember that line in the context of it. at the back of my mind, I thought, this scene is most chilling and itchy if I'm completely unfazed.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing is any big deal. Just another day at the office, except you're on an airliner that's heading for oblivion. you know, it's like I was saying earlier, playing the wrong tone or the wrong subtext for the moment. It makes your subconscious ears sort of prick up and go, what? No, nobody's like that.
Okay, and the second question is, I wasn't clear about you at the beginning of Lost. Did you know that you were going to be an other, or when you had your script and you were hired, you thought you were Henry Gale?
I thought I was Henry Gale.
You thought you were Henry Gale?
Honestly, I thought I was a balloonist from Minnesota. I did.
No, I mean it was literally, you the actor, you were told that you were this balloonist who has been captured by these people, or did you always know?
No one told me anything. They gave me a script. I had a line that said, my name is Henry Gale, I'm from Minneapolis, for the love of God. What was not to believe about that? But gradually, as it went on, and they wouldn't let me go home, I began to think, there's something going on. Because one day, we were shooting, I don't know, the 5th episode I did or something, and I went to the director, I said, wouldn't it be wild if I was the leader of the others? And he looked at me and he blinked his eyes a couple of times and he said, I can't discuss that. And I thought, okay, what's going on?
So when did you find out?
Sorry, I just need to leave it to one question, just because there's a line, I do need to leave it to one question per person. Right over here.
Most actors in New York are taking the same path that you did, starting in theater and moving into television. And in theater, where we have the luxury of working with a director, developing a character, rehearsal time. Then as we find ourselves moving into television, where we're doing co-star roles, where we just have 3 lines, if we're lucky, there's no preparation time. The director half the time doesn't talk to you. And as you said, you need to show up with your own preparation done. Can you talk about that, the difference between preparing for television versus when you have the luxury of time with stage?
It's a little terrifying when you go do the TV work because you're accustomed to rehearsal and you're accustomed to collaboration. And when you go to do TV work, it's like being thrown off the balcony. You show up, it's so tough, right? You show up, you're a stranger, you're working with stars probably, these people that have been there every day for the past how many years, and so all you can do is try to be at your professional best, keep your head down, not try to socially interact with, you know, people higher up the call sheet, all of that stuff. But in a way, if you've gotten the part, even if it's that small a part, you already so much more have what it takes to do it than anyone else that it's probably going to be smooth sailing. Those small parts, you're already off book. You have already solved the role, or they wouldn't have hired you in the first place. TV people, they don't want to spend any time bringing you up to speed. You enter at speed at all times, and it's all you. You're assumed to instinctively know what you're up to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you felt that, haven't you?
Yeah, there is just that problem of not upstaging the leads and keeping it small and compact enough, but interesting enough. It's always that.
Right, right. It's a fine line, and like everything else, you learn to do it better or more subtly as you go along.
Thank you.